I grew up on a lot of VHS tapes. My family was too broke for cable, but I did have PBS and several donated movies in my arsenal. This isn't a film I ever watched as a kid, but it's not randomly found either. I recall seeing trailers for this one on what I think was my Kipper the Dog tapes. Anyone remember Kipper? Kipper the Dog? Since Crayola Presents is a branch of Hallmark movies, and I recall Kipper having the Crayola logo, then it stands to reason that this is probably where I saw the trailer. So I actually decided to look for it online one day. There's apparently two versions of Crayola Presents The Ugly Duckling. There is a British dub and an American dub, and honestly I can conclude that the British version is rubbish. Voice is bad. Though in the American version, some people talk in British accents, so I really don't know what the point of having two separate dubs in the same language is. So I think it's fair that the story of the Ugly Duckling is a common household fairy tale, but this one is a bit different. This one has human trafficking. Well, they aren't human, it's a cygnet and a rat, so I guess child trafficking, I don't know. There's child slavery in this movie, but more on that later. This movie starts off with a family of rabbits for at least the first minute, and I'm not sure why. They aren't relevant. But it eventually gets to the point. The eggs hatch and, oh hey, one of these things is not like the other. One of these things doesn't belong. Mama Duck is very accepting of her strange-looking baby, though, but the rest of the neighborhood immediately starts singing a really poorly sung song about how they don't want him around because he ruins the pond's public image, and that they are going to tell him so to his face. Keep in mind, this kid was born, or should I say hatched, a couple of minutes ago, so they're talking about basically rioting against a newborn baby. But I guess even pond animals have homeowners associations. Who knew? And also, the mother duck names one of her kids Algernon, which I thought was hilarious. More importantly, our main character is named Augustus. There are these two passive-aggressive bird ladies who I guess are the head of this pond's HOA, and they show up and harass the mother duck and Augustus. Though they do ask a good question. Where did he come from? They tell her to let him hop in the water to see if he can swim to prove he's not one of her kids, and are positively gleeful when he doesn't come up for a few seconds, so they're perfectly okay with drowning a baby. Not unlike an HOA, truthfully. Ugly kid? Drown it. We don't need none of that. Not in these parts. I have to wonder if these birds have never seen swans before. If they haven't, where did the swan egg come from? How was it abandoned? Also, why is there no father duck in the picture? Augustus tries to play with the other kids, but he's big and clumsy, so he accidentally breaks things and causes problems, which is unfortunate and all, but he's villainized way too aggressively for it, and his siblings never stand up for him. At one point, he almost steps on his snail, who starts scolding him, and I can only think that the snail should be grateful no one's eaten him yet. As you can expect, Augustus runs away, and he sings another badly sung song about it, and you can see the other pond animals watching him leave and looking guilty. But no one steps in and tells him to come back, so their guilt is pretty hollow. He meets a girl rat named Scruffy, who really wants to be an actress, which she lets you know every other scene. At one point, Augustus gets hit by a bike and is concussed, and she's like, I know what'll make you feel better. I'll sing you a song. And thus we get the ever catchy Simple song, which I do recall from the trailer. It's one of two good sounding songs in the film, next to Winds of Winter, which would be good if it didn't have awful puns, but some people like that. I think the last thing I'd want to hear when my head hurts is someone singing, but Augustus seems okay with it. Not enthusiastic, because he's in pain, but he's tolerant. Later, he sings it with her when he feels better, and they dance. They aren't good dancers. When he introduces himself as Augustus, but everyone calls him ugly, she seems more disturbed by the fact he was named Augustus, and from that point on she calls him ugly. She even introduces him to other people as ugly, and they all just accept it without question. Hey, this is my friend Ugly. Oh, hey Ugly. No one is like, wow, she's calling her friend ugly, that's kind of mean. Okay, so I'm making Scruffy sound like a terrible person. She isn't. When she calls him ugly, she doesn't say it in a mean way. I mean, he did tell her that's what he's called. And honestly, her name is Scruffy, so I'm sure she thinks terrible names are normal. As I mentioned, slavery is a plot at least twice. There's this fox that shows up and kidnaps Scruffy to put her in a factory to make pots and pans for him to sell, with a bunch of other rat children he's kidnapped. He lies to Augustus that Scruffy left him with a passing theater troupe, but I was just confused as to why he didn't just kidnap Augustus as well and save himself the bother. Augustus actually believes him and his BS despite having no reason to trust him. But I mean, he doesn't have any self-esteem the entire movie, so that can be forgiven. But he hears Scruffy singing Simple Song in the distance and follows the chain gang. I find it hilarious that these rats sing the entire way to the factory. It reminds me of that meme where the kid annoys the kidnappers until they let him go. There's this bit where one of the kidnapped rats starts hysterically ranting about their situation, and the fox just has his ear pressed to the wall, listening with a grin on his face like, "Yes, yes, let me hear your misery, it gives me strength." They all escaped, of course. Then, when winter comes along, Augustus is kidnapped by wolves. The wolf subplot is my least favorite out of all of them because the way the characters escape is so dumb. And the wolves have guns? Yes, they have guns. They shoot them at the escaping animals. It kind of makes me wonder what the point of having humans is, because the animals provide most of the conflict. Eventually, the two main characters find an acting troupe. Augustus' stage crew, which he's fine with. He doesn't seem to have any big dreams of his own. Scruffy is the more ambitious of the two. As she improves her acting career, he grows up into a handsome swan with a soothing voice. Then, during a performance, the barn they live in accidentally burns down, and both characters think that the other is dead, which is a very dark turn for this movie to take. As Augustus is mourning the loss of his friend, he meets some girl swans who have stupid names like Precious and Graceful. They inform him that he is in fact a swan. In the original fairy tale, the swans accept him and he's happy, but in this one, they're snobby, and when he tells them his friends are all dead, they're like, "Whatever, they were lower class, they'll be fine." Which of course angers Augustus, and he leaves them to pick over the ruins of the barn for any trace of life. Scruffy also goes searching the barn, and as they search, they sing a song about their love for one another. You heard that correctly, the swan and the rat sing about their love. Which honestly I'm fine with. It's about time some cartoons figured out that anthropomorphic characters don't have to end up with a gender-bent version of themselves. When they reunite, Scruffy kisses Augustus, and they fly off together back to his old pond so he can stick it to the homeowners association. He shows up like, "Hey Mom, I'm home, I'm handsome now, and here's my rat girlfriend." Which I think is the real reason that this movie stuck with me, because of the ending. I wasn't prepared for the rat and the swan to confess their love and ride off into the sunset, and I'm not going to complain. In the case of the Ugly Duckling, as a fairy tale, the duckling finds the swans, realizes he was never ugly, and he belongs with them. You'd think that his rat friend finding her place where she feels like she belongs would be an opening for them to part ways, but they stick together, and only need each other, which is sweet, though I feel like not giving Augustus a sense of personal purpose to be kind of an undersight. In a way, it feels like Scruffy is the main character a good majority of the time. This movie is roughly 50 minutes long, which I think is more than reasonable, but it's pretty harmless and entertaining. I give it about 3 stars. I have to deduct for bad singing and weird filler moments. If you want to, give it a watch and let me know what you think. If you've actually seen this movie before and this is a nostalgic trip for you, leave a comment about that too. Stay safe out there, y'all.